October 15th, 2023, Duarte, California. This was the night Lily and Jack Sullivan disappeared without a trace. Two young children tucked safely into bed, gone before dawn. What started as a quiet Sunday evening in a safe suburban neighborhood became the beginning of one of the most haunting investigations in recent memory. At just 5 and 3 years old, Jack and Lily were the heart of the Sullivan family. That night, their parents, Emily and Devin, followed their usual routine: bedtime stories, kisses goodnight, and a final check on the children before heading downstairs. Hours later, Emily walked back up the narrow hallway only to find the window open, curtains fluttering in the cool breeze, and the children's beds empty. There were no screams, no sounds of struggle, just silence. Police arrived within minutes. Flashlights swept the rooms, neighbors were awakened, and search dogs tracked every inch of the block. But there was no sign of the children. Their faces quickly became the center of Amber Alerts, news reports, and community vigils. What began as a missing persons case would spiral into something far darker, a mystery that would grip the country and remain unsolved for years. Even today, investigators describe this case as one of the most chilling they've ever seen. A home with no signs of forced entry, no evidence of escape, and no clear suspect. Only one thing was certain: that night marked the moment the Sullivan family's life was shattered forever. The timeline and early investigation. The investigation began in the frantic hours that followed Emily Sullivan's panicked 911 call. It was 10:42 p.m. when she reported her children missing, her voice cracking as she described an open window and empty beds. Officers arrived within minutes, their flashlights sweeping the Sullivan home for any trace of Lily and Jack. Upstairs, investigators found no signs of forced entry. The locks on the doors were intact. No footprints or fingerprints were visible around the window frame, only smudges too small to identify. By midnight, Duarte's quiet streets were filled with flashing lights and search dogs. Volunteers and neighbors fanned out across the area, knocking on doors and combing alleys. Helicopters circled overhead with spotlights scanning every yard, every rooftop. Yet, there was nothing. No sound of crying, no abandoned clothing, no trace of two children who had been there hours earlier. Detectives immediately secured the Sullivan home as a crime scene. Forensic teams photographed every room while officers canvassed nearby streets for security cameras. A neighbor's doorbell camera captured a faint silhouette passing by around 9:30 p.m., but the figure was too blurry to identify. Another lead came from a delivery driver who recalled seeing a dark SUV idling with no headlights near the Sullivan residence earlier that evening. By morning, Amber Alerts with Lily and Jack's faces were broadcast statewide. Police urged the public to stay vigilant, releasing descriptions of the children: Jack's favorite Spider-Man pajamas, Lily's pink bunny slippers left on the bedroom floor. Detectives questioned family members, friends, and neighbors, trying to piece together the last hours before the disappearance. With no ransom demand, no signs of break-in, and no witnesses, suspicion grew that whoever had taken Lily and Jack knew the family well. This was no ordinary missing persons case. It was the start of a nightmare that would stretch on for years. Evidence, clues, and breakthroughs. As days turned into weeks, the Sullivan case consumed headlines across California. Billboards displayed Lily and Jack's faces, and volunteers papered cities with flyers. Yet every search ended in frustration. The Sullivan home became a focal point for investigators who meticulously examined every inch for overlooked evidence. Forensic teams discovered several unsettling details. The window in the children's room showed faint traces of dirt on the sill, too faint for a full fingerprint. Fibers not matching anything in the home were collected from Lily's bedsheet, raising the possibility of an intruder. Investigators also found a partial shoe print near the backyard fence, suggesting someone may have entered through the rear. Technology became a crucial tool. Cell tower pings placed several unfamiliar numbers near the Sullivan home around the time of the disappearance, prompting investigators to issue subpoenas for call records. Detectives reviewed hours of security footage from nearby homes and businesses, finally identifying the dark SUV mentioned by a witness. The footage showed the vehicle circling the block twice before disappearing into the night, but the license plate was unreadable. As weeks dragged on, speculation mounted. Was this an abduction for ransom? A custody dispute gone wrong? Or something even darker? Police received hundreds of tips, but most led nowhere. The Sullivan family endured intense scrutiny. Every interview, every detail of their lives dissected by the media. Emily and Devin made emotional public pleas, begging for their children's safe return, their faces etched with exhaustion and fear. Months later, a breakthrough finally emerged. Investigators in another county discovered surveillance footage of the same SUV captured miles away just hours after Lily and Jack vanished. This lead reignited the case, convincing detectives that the abduction had been carefully planned. The question now wasn't just who had taken them, it was why. Years of mystery and a shocking turn. What followed was a painstaking investigation that stretched on for years, keeping Lily and Jack's names in headlines and their faces in the hearts of millions. Each anniversary brought renewed coverage, candlelight vigils, and another reminder that the Sullivan family was still waiting for answers. Detectives chased hundreds of leads across multiple states, yet every promising clue seemed to collapse into dead ends. The mysterious dark SUV was never located, and no suspects were identified. The trail grew colder, but investigators refused to close the case. Emily and Devin Sullivan transformed their grief into advocacy, founding a nonprofit dedicated to missing children. They appeared on national talk shows, partnered with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and kept their kids' faces on billboards. "Someone knows what happened," Devin said during a 2025 press conference, his voice breaking. "We won't stop until Lily and Jack come home." Then, in the summer of 2025, everything changed. A construction worker in rural Oregon stumbled upon an abandoned property deep in the woods while clearing land. Inside the decaying home, authorities discovered a series of disturbing items: toys, clothing, and blankets that matched descriptions from the Sullivan household. DNA testing confirmed what investigators had long feared: Lily and Jack had been there. The discovery reignited the case, triggering one of the largest manhunts in Oregon's history. Forensic teams scoured the property and uncovered fingerprints, linked to a man with a history of kidnapping and assault, previously living under an alias. This suspect had slipped through law enforcement's grasp for years, moving between states and avoiding detection. The shocking find confirmed what investigators suspected all along. This was a calculated abduction. After nearly 5 years of darkness, the Sullivan case had its first real suspect, and a chilling glimpse into what may have happened to the children. The arrest and legacy of the Sullivan case. The manhunt that followed the Oregon discovery was relentless. Detectives pieced together years of surveillance footage, credit card receipts, and travel records to track the suspect, a 47-year-old drifter named Alan Brewer, who had changed identities multiple times and moved through small towns unnoticed. When U.S. Marshals finally closed in on him at a remote cabin in northern Idaho, Brewer surrendered without a fight. Inside, investigators recovered more items belonging to Lily and Jack, as well as journals detailing his movements since 2023. Brewer was charged with multiple counts of kidnapping, murder, and unlawful confinement. The chilling evidence suggested he had been stalking the Sullivan family for weeks, carefully studying their routines before striking. In a heartbreaking turn, authorities confirmed through DNA and forensic analysis that Lily and Jack had died shortly after they were taken. The Sullivan family, who had clung to hope for 5 long years, now faced the unbearable truth. The trial was swift. Brewer's own writings, paired with forensic evidence, painted him as a calculating predator who viewed the children as prizes. He was convicted and sentenced to life without parole, but for Emily and Devin, justice felt hollow. "We waited years for answers," Emily said through tears, "but no sentence can bring back our babies." The Sullivan case became a national example of investigative persistence and the power of keeping missing children's stories alive. It also exposed flaws in interstate tracking of violent offenders, leading to reforms in database sharing between jurisdictions. The family's nonprofit grew into a nationwide advocacy group, helping other families in crisis. Today, the Sullivan case is remembered not just for its tragedy, but for the fierce determination of investigators, journalists, and a grieving family, who refused to let Lily and Jack's names fade into silence. Their story remains a haunting reminder that justice is sometimes slow, but never impossible.